the peace the evening brings, the world for once in perfect harmony.
That's good enough, is it not?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Well,
sometimes you hit wrong chords, sometimes you sing wrong notes.
But as always, this is American Brews and Tunes.
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American Brews and Tunes. Shibbity-beeby-dow!
Welcome to American Brews und Tunes. My name is Steven Johnston.
And my name is Jesse Titus.
And we're back for another one-off episode, as we promised last week when we did the one-off of, what was it again?
Hostage Calm?
Hostage Calm Die on Stage. We said that we were going to do an older, more well-known album.
Yes.
And boy, did we do just that.
Boy, did we choose one that's not a stranger to anybody.
I know, it's definitely not. That's because it's The Stranger by Billy Joel. A classic album.
It sure is.
Yeah. It's a great album. I'm super excited to review it.
Same here.
And if you listen to it, it's just great. But before we touch upon that, let's touch upon the beer.
Yeah,
shall
why
we?
not? Let's do that.
Now, sometimes when we have one-off episodes, we like to make beers that are themed similar to the album.
Uh-huh. Sometimes we try to do that.
And for this one, we could have got a beer such as the Dogfish Head Red and White.
Yeah. Referencing scenes from an Italian restaurant.
But we did not get that beer.
Nope. We weren't able to.
We just got something off the blues because it's still Oktoberfest time.
Yeah.
And so we got Bearded Iris Overcast, which is their fest beer.
Yeah. So I'm
curious about this.
fairly excited to try it.
I'm curious if they took any liberties with their brewing, since they're known for their hazy New England IPAs.
Yeah. So if any of you have been listening, we've been having quite a few Bearded Iris brews. And we've said it before that normally they do a type more hazy IPA, or most of their beers have a hazy quality to them. But recently they released a Mexican lager.
A Mexican lager, like you said, and now they have this.
Yeah, so we're
fest beer.
wondering if it's going to follow the same trend as their last ones, where they're not hazy and they're a little bit more traditional, but maybe the flavors are just a little bit more amped up. Because like on that Mexican lager, there was like a really pronounced like lime and salt flavor in that, which was really tasty. Yeah. So we'll see.
I'm curious to try it.
We're going to give it a shot.
It's called Overcast, so maybe it is going to be cloudy or hazy.
Today, it's not very overcast here in Nashville.
But is the beer going to be hazy and overcasty? Is it going to be unfiltered? We'll see.
Could be.
But how do we tie this into Billy Joel, you might ask?
Yeah.
Because of that great song Vienna.
Which is somewhere in Europe, right?
Austria, which is Germany, right?
It's next to it.
It's so close.
It's so close, it might as well be Germany.
It pretty much is. Sorry to all you Germans and Austrians, if that you take offense to us making your countries the same.
Yeah, but there's a song on the album called Vienna.
Yeah, and so that's how we're tying it in. After the fact, tied the beer in. But what say you that we crack these brews and try them?
Let's do it. Let's do it live. Let's do it. Do it live. Here we go.
We will do it live.
Oh, there's the first.
Yeah, and these are in cans. So it's... in fact, all Bearded Iris brews are in cans, so that's not a surprise.
They are.
They'll can them all themselves, I suppose. I'm doing a pretty poor job of pouring this. Mine foamed up quite a bit, so I
don't really know how to pour into this cleat that we got from the Flying Saucer.
Yeah, Jesse is drinking out of his Das Boot, but instead of being a boot, it's a cleat, like a soccer cleat. So it's Das Cleat, I guess.
Das Cleat. The Weidenstaffener cleat.
So Jesse's drinking out of that, and I'm drinking out of my half-liter Stein mug, whatever you want to call it.
Stein mug, I believe it's a little bit redundant to say that, but...
Is it redundant?
What is redundant anyway? Isn't life redundant, Steve?
I don't know, things can be redundant, I guess.
There was once I was in a Walmart once, and I saw this shirt. You know how like they have like shirts in the front of the store that are like generally locally themed normally?
Yeah, like sometimes either a sports team or like the high school, something or other.
Yeah. I saw this shirt, and it was super redundant. It said something like, it had like y'all and then something else in it as well. And
y'all don't know what you guys are missing.
Something like that, yeah. Something like that. And I was like, man, that is a really redundant shirt. And
I mean, it is.
I think I posted on this weird thing called Instagram.
Instagram, eh?
That many people have. Few people like it.
I like it. I think a ton of people like it.
I think a lot of people like it too. I was mostly joking.
Mostly.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly.
I heart all y'all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not redundant. I think
that's pretty redundant.
It literally is redundant, but it's instead of them saying some of y'all.
You all. All you all.
I know. That's all y'all.
Because doesn't y'all already imply
you all?
You all, yeah. Right? I don't know.
Some of y'all don't know what's going on.
And my caption was, Mrs. Redundant Woman strikes again.
Mrs. Redundant Woman. Classic.
Anyway, enough about T-shirts and redundancy.
Let's get back to this alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
Redundancies.
It's an alcoholic beverage that is beer.
Yeah, alcoholic beer.
All right, do you want to give this a shot?
Yes, but I would like to comment that it is not very cloudy.
Nope, it's not hazy.
It's got a nice color. It's not as I wouldn't say red, but usually when I have like a Martzen or a Fest beer, it's a little more amber colored.
Normally,
I'd say.
I believe the color that I'm calling it from now on is acorn brown.
Acorn brown. But let's go ahead and give this a cheers. Sarah, 1, 2, and then down the hatch.
All right.
That's very clean.
Whoa.
It's
Ooh.
The hops are subtle, but it's not a hoppy beer. It fits in with the style really well.
That's really tasty.
They made a very good.
I'm trying to figure out what that. It's like really, really bready.
Yes, bready, but not overly malty. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's definitely caramely and malty, like a good Oktoberfest should be. But it's solid. This is really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this beer.
It's got great drinkability. I think I would give it a 4.25 on Untapped.
Really?
Not only do I think that, I am.
Wow.
Great beer.
I'm probably going to give it a 4.
4. That's a solid rating, too.
It's
a good beer.
It's a fairly complex flavor, actually. It's nice.
It's complex, yet drinkable.
Yeah.
That's a great combination, is it not?
Complex yet drinkable.
Yet drinkable. What's that? What do they say in The Lion King, since we were singing Lion King songs earlier? When he's having the bugs? He's like,
slimy, yet satisfying.
That's what it was.
Slimy, yet satisfying.
So complex, yet drinkable. That's our Lion King phrase.
For the day. So we can no longer make Lion King references.
Says you, but we'll see. Anyways, I fear that if we don't move on to the music, I might suffer a heart attack.
You ought to know by now.
Goodness gracious me.
A heart attack.
Shall we dive into the album?
Let's.
Billy Joel's The Stranger. This is perhaps the best Billy Joel album, arguably, I could say.
Yep.
I think every single song is great on this album.
I mean, whenever you were like, hey, we should do this album, I was like, oh, I've never really listened to it. And then you were like, do you know any of these songs? And I was like, yeah, I know all but 2 of them.
I was going to say, most people, even if you don't know the album The Stranger by Billy Joel, you probably have heard at least 6 out of 9, 7 out of 9 of the songs.
Yeah.
And there's only 9 songs on there, so it's not super long. But it's great. It came out in 1977. It was his 5th studio album. The album that came out right before it was called Turnstiles, and it didn't do so hot. Didn't sell very well.
Yeah.
So Columbia Records had considered dropping Billy Joel.
Good thing they didn't.
The 5th album did not do well, which ended up being The Stranger. And they were wrong, of course.
Yeah.
But also, I like the album Turnstiles.
Really? I don't think I've listened to that one
Say
either.
Goodbye to Hollywood's on there. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
How does that one go again? Say goodbye to Hollywood.
Kinda.
Say goodbye.
I like your version. Actually, I like your version better. So we'll go with that. But clearly, Columbia Records was smart, misplacing their trust. Smart not dropping him before this.
Not dropping before this.
They shouldn't have thought of dropping him at all. He's the piano man, for crying out loud.
Yeah, for crying out loud. He's the piano man.
But as we said, this album did phenomenal, and it had plenty of huge singles. It's arguably one of the greatest albums of all time. I
think it's on the
it's on a lot of top like
Rolling
50
Stones
lists
like
of greatest
top 200
albums of all
albums.
time.
It's like 50 out of 200 or something
which is
like that.
pretty good.
Yeah.
When trying to put this record together, Billy Joel was shopping around like some new producers to try and like change things up.
Okay.
And George Martin, the longtime Beatles producer, was a high candidate for a while.
Really?
Yes.
That's
he
interesting.
had met him a couple times, and they were very interested in working together. But George Martin wanted to use session players instead of Billy Joel's band.
Oh.
And I guess Billy Joel
Joel's
had,
like, heck no.
he had been using session musicians for the past couple albums and wasn't too fond of that. And his new band that he had, the new group of guys, were, for lack of a better term, jiving very well. It was the 70s after all.
Yeah.
And they really liked that sound that they were getting together, so he wanted to use his own band, so they didn't use George Martin.
Interesting.
He ended up using a guy named Phil Ramone. I believe I'm saying that right. But he ended up going to produce a bunch of Billy Joel records after that, too.
Oh, okay.
But he'd produced some Paul Simon records. Like he did that one that has Still Crazy After All These Years, which I'll talk about later.
Oh.
Also, and I read somewhere that Billy Joel did say that after the fact, George Martin wrote him a letter that said, and I quote, "You were right, I was wrong. I should have considered working with your band. Congratulations."
Wow.
So George Martin was admitted
like,
his.
I was like, I was wrong, man.
Yeah, I mean it's true, but clearly it worked out well. Am I right? And just I'm sure we'll say it along the lines, but I'll just give my little overview of Billy Joel in general. I think he is probably one of the greatest songwriters and artists of all time.
Yeah, I think he's up there.
If you are not sure about that, I would urge you to go on to Spotify or any musical platform and like look up. They've got playlists of like best Billy Joel songs. Easily, you would probably recognize 20 to 30 songs. There's so many songs that he's had that have been huge hits.
Huge. I mean, not many people can sell out a Madison Square Garden
month after month for years.
For years, yeah.
He plays one show there a month, and it's sold out.
He said he's going to every single time.
He said he's going to keep playing it until it stops selling out.
Yeah,
which is awesome. I mean, he's arguably one of the best.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not think that, but you're wrong.
You may not agree.
And I think this album does a great job of exemplifying the woes and the hums and the noises that Billy Joel makes that aren't lyrics. What would you call those? Like the
noises.
The noises, because he does.
There's probably an actual word for it.
Decorative.
Decorative.
Like oohs, ahs. He is great for doing that.
Yeah.
My mom used to say that was because he couldn't think of words sometimes. I think she was just joking. But I always think it's funny because he can think of a lot of words. I mean, we've listened to We Didn't Start the Fire. He can think of a ton of words.
A lot of words in that song.
But he can really use the ohs, ahs, woes, yeahs, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Very well. Very, very well. So we dive into the album.
Let's do it up.
I'm going to say that all songs are great.
Yep.
I picked out 4 songs that are my favorite, and I do not stray from the popular path. Sorry.
There are maybe some songs that I don't like as much as others on this album.
True, but I think they're all great.
Most of them are pretty darn good, though.
So let's move on to Moving Out. Anthony's song.
Anthony's song.
This is my first recommendation. And it's also one of my favorite Billy Joel songs of all time.
Yeah, it's a good song.
This is the song that I referenced earlier with the heart attack.
Anthony works in the grocery store, saving his pennies for someday. Boom, boom, boom.
And this is, in the ways of like Piano Man and a lot of his other songs, it's a great storytelling song.
Yeah.
A
lot of
it
his
follows
songs,
this guy
in
named
fact.
Anthony, probably in New York, I think, because he references some specific places. And it really kind of questions what the American dream is.
Yeah,
Which
essentially.
you don't really
is what
think
it
about
is.
that until you like sit down and like actually like look at all the lyrics. Like, oh, this guy, he's like saying maybe it's not worth it to like work so hard for something that's not that great.
Yeah.
Is it really worth all this stuff?
Yeah.
They talk about that cop who works 2 jobs so he can buy a Cadillac.
Yeah.
But if he's got a broken back,
He
obviously,
can't drive it.
I'm sure
least-
that's metaphorically broken back from working 2 jobs.
Yeah,
He's like, if
doesn't
he
he
can't
say,
drive
like,
it, he can still polish
At least
the
he
fender.
can polish the fenders, yeah.
So it's kind of a deep song when you think about that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else about that song.
I don't know, it's a great song.
I was thinking of one of the lines in it that I really like.
Musically, it's great. The guitar tones are awesome. Probably about like 2/3 of the way through, I don't know if it's the bridge or whatever you call it, you hear a car starting to like rev up
Yeah.
and then peel out. So that's like him
Him
moving
moving
out.
out.
Yeah.
Him moving on from what the typical American dream is, the quote unquote American dream.
And I heard that was one of the band members' 60-something Corvette.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a good sounding American muscle car, though. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. That's not what it sounds like.
That's not like Howard Dean.
He's pretty much just saying like
Dean scream. Oh man.
But yeah, that song's pretty darn good. I mean, the melody is super catchy. The chord choices are awesome.
All around great.
One thing that I have realized overall about this album is that his chord progressions are really nice.
They're very nice.
Like they work super well.
I think I find this a lot to be from piano writers more often than not. People who have learned, I guess they probably learned music theory or some structures type stuff, some basic stuff.
Yeah.
And so I found that they tend to have really interesting progressions that are very somewhat different, but really work well.
Different than the norm.
Yeah.
Like he adds like a lot of like passing chords and passing tones and
stuff that you wouldn't find in a pop music probably.
Yeah, in normal pop music.
Even though this is the pop music of back in the day.
Yeah. So yeah, super, super good chord choices.
Let's move on to track number 2, shall we? The title track?
Yes.
This is The Stranger. And this appears to be the framework for the album.
For the entire album, yeah.
And I say that because it starts off with this piano and whistling part where he's playing this piano part and you hear... Yeah. And it's just this... It almost sounds like a crime noir. Like you'd hear it like in a black and white New York thing where you see one guy with a trench coat and a fedora walking like by himself saying, "It was late at night. I was thinking to myself,
it was raining just like this.
What trouble did I get myself into?
I will never forget that night."
That's the mood I think of when I hear this.
Yeah.
So that piano part starts at the beginning of the song and it also ends the song. There's a actual song in the middle there. But this melody comes in and closes out the album also.
Yeah,
so that's why I say it's the framework for the album.
So the song, it must be the theme of the song must be the overarching theme of the whole album, right?
Now, why wouldn't this song be first? Why is Anthony's song moving out first?
Maybe because he's like, I'm moving away from whatever the rest of the album's about.
Could be.
Something like that.
I'm not sure if Billy Joel ever said so. He probably did. I don't know. And I just couldn't find it. Most likely. But it's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Once the song actually starts, like the middle portion that's not the piano and whistle part of The Stranger, it's a really different sounding song.
Yeah, it is.
Well, you all did the it's got that kind of like bouncy, fun melody.
Yeah.
It's a good song. I've heard some people say that it's really psychological, perhaps, who The Stranger is. Some people were talking. So I saw some theories that it was like Jungian, like Carl Jung, like some just who the stranger
is. Oh, it's
so you can interpret it in a bunch of different ways.
It's not anybody.
You can interpret the song a bunch of different ways. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's not a singular person.
Well, there are people who are interpreting it. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think that's right though.
It probably isn't a single person.
I mean, isn't the point? I mean, like the album cover kind of says it all, right?
The face.
He talks about like the masks that people put on.
And the album cover is him sitting on a bed with this mask on his pillow, just staring right at it.
He's staring so, I don't know, timidly at it or something.
Just
it's also
nonchalantly.
It's a really creepy mask too.
Yeah, it's a creepy cover in general.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
But I don't think The Stranger is any one person.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I think he just is saying that
they're a stranger.
People
don't talk to stranger. Stranger danger. I don't think that's what he's saying. Maybe he is.
He's just saying that people are generally not
there is lots
who they
of
actually
stranger
are.
Danger. That is not a lyric, you guys.
Gotta worry about when you walk out the door. No.
Set your stuns to phaser for the stranger danger.
I think it's phasers to stun. Wait.
Set your phasers to stun.
It's not stun to phasers.
Sorry, it fit the lyrics better. Artistic, like I'm taking my artistic
liberty to it. Okay.
Let's
move. But I think the song is about how people don't normally show who they truly are.
Yeah, masks.
And try to conform to what they think other people want or something like that. And I think that's the overarching theme that you can kind of find throughout all the songs.
Throughout the album.
Yeah. Especially in the next song.
Yeah, which is called Just the Way You Are.
Yeah.
Track number 3. Another huge song. I believe it was released as a single. Yeah, it is a great song. It's a love song.
Yeah, his melodies are just so good in this song.
And this song is the one that I said I would refer back to that Paul Simon song,
Yeah.
which was Still Crazy After All These Years. And the reason why these two songs I thought about each other when I was looking at it was because they said that Phil Ramone, the producer, had produced that song. I was like, oh, that starts off with that Wurlitzer sound and keyboard part, and so does this.
Yeah.
So that's the only real connection.
Oh, okay.
But this song's a great love song, saying like,
Yeah.
literally, it's what the title says.
Yeah.
I like you just the way you are.
Yeah. Don't go changing to try and please me.
So good.
Yeah.
Apparently, this was about his wife at the time, who they ended up getting divorced,
Oh, really?
and he didn't play the song for a number of years after
Wow.
that.
I would
Decades.
expect so. Yeah.
Yeah, painful.
But yeah, and then that song, don't
Don't
put on that
a
stranger mask.
Yeah,
Just be who you are.
get rid of your stranger danger and
Yeah.
tear down the walls.
Hey, don't be afraid of strangers.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. Make yourself welcome.
Peel that mask right off.
Yeah, peel that mask. Shall we move on to a longer song?
Yeah.
Okay. Track number 4, it's called Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. And I also recommended this.
From an Italian restaurant.
Yeah. This is Billy Joel's longest song
Ever?
ever. It clocks in at 7 minutes and 37 seconds.
Wow.
It's also, I'd say, one of his best songs.
It's kind of
Magnum opus, perhaps?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
People could classify it as that.
yeah.
It wasn't pushed as a single, but it quickly became a fan favorite
Yeah.
and a live staple. When I was young, I'd heard this song plenty of times because my parents were always playing Billy Joel. And I just thought it was like 3 random songs put together just
No.
for the heck of it. And yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah.
They're very much connected.
Yeah.
Very much connected. And this is, in the way that I said on the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, A Day in the Life
Yeah.
was ambitious. I think this is an ambitious song too,
Yeah.
putting all these things together. There's big orchestration.
Yeah.
It's so well put together.
And it kind of has the same type of structure as The Stranger, where it starts off with like a instrumental part, right? And then goes into like a different sounding part and then ends on that same
and
part.
ends on the same part. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has 4 parts, I would say. The first and the fourth are the same.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 other parts in the middle.
Yeah. This is another story song.
It is a story
Tells
song.
a story about two young people in love.
Yes. In a couple different ways.
Yeah.
And the first part is slower, and it tells this story about 2 people meeting up in an Italian restaurant that they probably have met up in before, but haven't like, it seems like it's an old favorite restaurant that they had, and they hadn't seen each other for a while.
Yeah.
So they're saying, we can always come to our favorite Italian restaurant. And this is where we came up with the red and white that we were talking about at the beginning. Yeah. Bottle of white.
Bottle of white.
But at the beginning, I think it's switched, right?
Bottle of white. Yeah.
Bottle of red. Or bottle of rosé instead.
Or perhaps a rose instead.
But yeah, that's the first part. The second part speeds it up with the piano. It's like and that's when they start reminiscing about the past.
Yeah.
The 2 people who were in the Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's the reminiscing part, I think. And then the third part, they switch it up, and this is my favorite part in the song, where they reminisce about a specific couple named Brenda and Eddie,
Yeah.
who they were the high school prom queen and king.
Yeah.
And this is probably I don't know, it's the best part of the song, I think. And I think it might have been the first part he wrote because it was supposed to be, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, a standalone song called The Ballad of Brenda and Eddie.
And then he added on to it.
Yeah, and I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
But this song just tells a story about Brenda and Eddie. They were popular in high school. They had
Still
each other.
going steady.
And they got married because they're like, what else are we going to do? Let's get married.
Right.
And it
Living
didn't
that
work out.
Living that American dream that they thought
spent
was,
their money real quick,
Yeah.
got argued, and got divorced.
Yep.
But they'll find their way eventually, I guess.
Yeah.
I like how Billy Joel pronounces Brenda and Eddie.
Brender.
Yeah, because it sounds like a New England accent,
Yeah.
even though he's a New York guy. He's for sure a New York guy. He's always in his New York state of mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great song too.
It is. I know. But yeah, he sounds like he's from Boston saying Brenda and Eddie.
Brenda and Eddie.
But I guess if you are going to say Brenda and Eddie,
Brenda and Eddie.
from the A from Brenda and the A and you have to have
Yeah,
some
you're not going to say
separation.
Brenda and Eddie.
Yeah, it's too difficult. So I wonder if he did that intentionally or if that's just his natural way to say it. Who knows?
Who knows?
I'd have to ask him.
Yeah, maybe we can give him a call.
Yeah. But after the Brenda and Eddie section, the first part comes back in grand form, the bottle of red, bottle of white. And
Yeah,
it's
I like
big
there's
orchestration.
A really nice transition.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice. It goes from fast back to the slow, but
Yeah.
big slow. Like
Yeah.
the big orchestration.
The end of the song is the highest like dynamic range, and
yeah.
it's super dope.
Yeah. This is this is the last song on the A side. So this is, before you
Yes.
flip the record, this is what you're treated with.
So it's like, "Bah!"
Yeah.
Right at the end.
This song I read was inspired by the B-side, not the B-side, but the B-side of Abbey Road by the Beatles.
Oh, really?
How the songs kind of
Yeah.
segue into the other, so that was his
That makes
inspiration. Clearly, this isn't the same as that, but
No.
you can see the connection.
Yeah, for sure.
I had bought my mom a Billy Joel Greatest Hits CD at one point in time for her birthday, I think.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-disc Greatest Hits, so it should be all-encompassing, am I right?
You'd think so, yeah.
Yeah. It did not have scenes from an Italian restaurant. And my
That's
dad was
so
like, how can
weird.
you call this Greatest Hits?
It's so weird, yeah.
I think he did that for an Elton John CD as well. I got him a Elton John Greatest Hits, and it didn't have the Funeral for a Friend song.
Yeah.
It's a 2-part song. I can't remember what it's completely titled, but it's the first 2 songs on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And he's like, this isn't a Greatest Hits. This is just some hits.
It's just some hits.
But
Some of the hits.
Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's such a good song.
I really like it too.
And apparently, it was inspired by a specific Italian restaurant.
The one that's pictured on the back of the album?
It very well could be. It was an Italian restaurant that was nearby to Carnegie Hall in New York.
Ah, yes, Carnegie Hall.
Yes, Carnegie Hall. But it's great. Shall we move on to
The B-side?
to a place that might be more opening to an Oktoberfest beer?
Yeah.
We shall.
Where would that be?
Vienna.
Oh, gonna get some sausages in Vienna?
This is my next recommendation.
Oh, really?
I think this song is great because of the message, and I love the little ornamentation or trills, whatever you want to call them, on the piano. Bring,
Yeah.
Bing, bing, bling.
Mhm.
Just sounds like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing musically.
Yeah,
That's what I think of when I hear that.
Didn't he like have
And the chord
a couple of
choices.
classical pieces?
Oh,
that he
yeah,
wrote?
he's got some classical movements you can look into.
It's pretty cool.
But the chord choices are like really cool sounding, and I can envision myself being in Vienna when I hear this little intro part.
Being what? In Vienna?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we hear an accordion in this
An accordion
song,
layer
right?
too, which that makes me think a little bit more Paris.
Yeah,
but,
I suppose.
But also
But
foreign, like Vienna,
It's
like
like Europe.
like exotic and foreign. Ooh.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great song. I really like the message in the song as well.
Tell me about it.
Well, like the first line, "Slow down, you crazy child."
Yeah.
I was like telling him, like, you're moving too fast. Like you're too ambitious. You're a go-getter. I get that you got initiative, but you got to like smell the roses. Vienna, which is his metaphor for life, I guess, waits for you. Like you'll get there. You'll get to where you're supposed to be eventually. So why don't you enjoy it? Make the most of it. And I think that's a great way to think. Great mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're always rushing through things, how can you enjoy the road trip, you know?
Yeah. And that ties into the next song,
Does it, though? The next song is...
Only the good die young.
Is that true?
Only the good die young.
I think we referenced this on another podcast. We're like, if only the good die young,
Then why
do we still have Paul McCartney and Paul Simon?
Yeah.
And Billy Joel! Yeah, this is my last recommendation, I suppose.
Okay.
Another great song.
Yeah, it is.
This
It's
wasn't
super good.
popular at first.
Really?
It started making some waves after the fact because it's Catholic. It references Catholicism.
Yeah, it does. And I
And he
suppose
said-
back then it wasn't as
Scandalous. It was shrouded in controversy.
Ooh.
And Billy Joel said it wasn't like an anti-Catholic song or anything. It's just the song's literally about him trying to get with a girl who's Catholic.
Yeah.
And
And she's like, no.
she wants to wait.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want her to wait.
Yeah.
And I believe in the end of the song, she does wait, right?
I think
He's
so, yeah.
unsuccessful.
Yeah.
But he's trying to convert her.
Yeah.
Which is scandalous, I guess, for the time.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is.
But it's such a it's really catchy and like happy. And when you think of that theme to the music, you're like, it almost doesn't add up, but it's so good.
Yeah, it's one of those songs.
It's one of those songs. I really like the drumming in this song. And I read that originally Billy Joel wanted this to be like a reggae song, and he was going to sing with like a slight Jamaican accent to his voice. And the drummer, like someone wasn't too keen on that. And so the drummer just like, I'm going to add a shuffle, like a beat to it to do. And so they did that. And I love that little, just the very intro part where he's in the dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And then the drums come in.
Oh, yeah.
Come out. I love that beginning drum
Come
part.
out, Virginia. Don't let me wait. Casually girl, stop much too late. Later it comes down to fate. You might as well be the one.
So good.
So good, yeah.
Shall we move on?
We shall.
And so she was a young Catholic girl, but eventually she would become a woman. And to Billy Joel, she's always a woman. That's track number 7.
Another great like love
Great
ballad.
love song. Yeah.
Just like a flowing
The melody
melodies
is
and
so good. It's piano driven. It talks about this girl who is supposed to be the modern woman who's independent. She can fend for herself.
Yep.
She can sting you, or she can.
She can't be convicted because she earned her degree.
I know.
I still don't really know what that means, but
Maybe girls were going to college, or I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to say, but
Who
she's
knows?
always a woman to me,
yeah.
which is just him saying like whatever you want to interpret it as. I don't know.
Yep.
I could see some feminists getting angry about this.
I don't know. Think so?
Like they would say,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
she can't be convicted are the two aren't mutually exclusive?
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I don't know, but that's me playing devil's advocate because
There's always a woman.
I think
to
this is
me.
a lovely song.
Oh, she takes care of herself.
I really like the
She can wait if she wants.
that he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just so pleasant.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to track number 8?
Yeah, let's
Get It Right the First Time. This is
get it right the first time. This is one of the songs that I didn't know.
I knew this one, but it's probably my least favorite on the album.
Yeah.
I like it, but I think it's my least favorite.
It is kind of different.
It is different. It's a really good song. It's literally about getting it right the first time with a girl, whether it's like the first
Yeah.
line you say or what, because there's not a second chance. Probably.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta get it right the first time.
Gotta get it right the first time, because if you try the second time, that's not good enough. Something like that.
You're fired. Let's move on to the last song.
Okay.
This song is called Everybody Has a Dream.
Yep. Everybody
And,
has a dream.
This song is different again. It's a little bit more churchy sounding, like
Yeah, there's like
gospel-y or
gospel
like a
choruses
hymnal
and
type
whatnot.
thing. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
it sounds like there's a choir singing the chorus. Everybody has a dream.
Everybody has a dream.
And he talks about like trying to find inspiration earlier in the song,
Yeah.
but in the end of the chorus, you find out that his dream is just coming back home and being alone with you, whoever that is.
Yeah.
So that's a nice song.
And then it ends with the same piano part at
From the
beginning of
stranger.
The Stranger.
Yeah, the piano and the whistling. So that's what ties everything together
Yeah.
in this beautiful album that is
That
The
is The
Stranger.
Stranger.
It's a great album.
It is.
I just think Billy Joel is just the bomb.
He is pretty good.
I would love to see him live sometime. I don't know. I don't think he tours very often.
Well, I mean, he probably just plays that show at Madison Square Gardens
Yeah, why not?
every month.
That'd be awesome. And I heard an album, like a live recording from maybe the early 2010s, somewhere in that time period.
Yeah.
He still sounded great. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a couple years since then, but still
Yeah.
sounds great.
I've seen, like, he's been on like Jimmy Fallon
He's been everywhere
and whatnot,
Man.
and he just still sounds so good.
He's Billy Joel, yo.
He's Billy Joel, yo, instead of y'all.
Billy Joelo, YOLO. I could put that in a song. Maybe
Billy
that would be a good
Joelo?
album title.
Billy Joel, YOLO.
How about like a Billy Joel tribute album called YOLO for Jolo?
Sounds so dumb.
You only live once,
You only live
and only the good die young. Anyways, anything else to say about this album other than it's great?
Not really. I just got
still
a
holds
bubble.
up. You'll hear these songs all over the radio still.
Oh yeah, all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Maybe we'll review another Billy Joel album sometime because he's got
eventually
other great
yeah,
albums.
eventually we should.
I would be happy if we listened to, I think it's called Innocent Man. That's the one that has Uptown Girls. Speaking of Uptown Girls,
Uptown Girl.
how let's just give it up for Billy Joel for having great timbre in his voice, because he can sound different all over the
Yeah,
place. Like,
because doesn't he sound like Uptown Girl?
yeah,
Uptown Girl. She's living in a white bread world.
and even on this album, The Stranger, on the last song, Everybody Has a Dream, he at the very beginning, he almost sounds like Randy Newman.
A little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's I was like, Randy?
Randy, is that you?
Oh no, it's Billy. Billy, you silly.
Randy, is that you? No, it's Billy.
Anyways,
Oh, my goodness.
looking forward towards next week.
Yeah.
Are we going to go back to the regularly scheduled format?
Well, we could do one of two things. We do have a listener recommended one-off.
Oh, would you like to do that and then come back to our regular format?
Yes, let's do that.
Let's do that, yeah.
And I think this is going to be a fairly special episode because the guy who recommended it is the same guy who designed our Instagram logo.
Yes.
The American Brews and Tunes logo.
Yeah, not just Instagram, it's just our logo in general.
Yeah, and his name is Jose Balderas.
Jose Balderas, but we know him as
Above. So shout out to Above. We're going to be listening to the album that you recommended to me a little bit ago. And that album is Matt Nathanson.
Mm-hmm.
And the album is called Some Mad Hope.
I guess that's what we'll be listening to.
So that's what we'll be listening to. Thanks, Above, for listening and for recommending.
Yeah, thanks for going above and beyond. Oh! But he really
Classic.
does. That logo is great.
Yeah, it's great. It's timeless.
It's great.
It'll last all time.
Until time ends.
As long as the internet exists, it will exist.
Well, and we got it printed on some glasses, so as long as they don't get shattered also.
That's true.
Yeah. We'll get it printed on some stickers and stuff too eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
American
shirts
Brews and Tunes. Let's say that we cheers this beer and finish up for the week.
yeah, so be looking forward to that next week.
And then the following week we'll return to we each recommend an album for each other.
Yep. And of course, if you have any recommendations, you listener out there,
Let us know. Hit us up on
know.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just look us up at American Brews and Tunes, or you can send us an email at americanbrewsandtunes@gmail.com, or go to our website, brewsandtunespodcast.com. And as we always say on American Brews and Tunes,
shibbity people
delicious brew.
What a great beer.
It is.
Good job, Bearded Iris. That's
Good job, Bearded
fantastic.
Iris. Once again, my name is Stephen Johnston.
And my name is Jesse Titus.
Coming at you from American Brews and Tunes!
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American Brews and Tunes. Shibbity